Good morning. Welcome to the CBC Economic Division Team's workshop today on life insurance and burial planning. Today we have three speakers. They are Norma Culbreth of State Farm Agency, Tawanda Smith from Lincoln Heritage Funeral Advantage, and Mr. Erwin Costner from Costner Funeral Home. We'll start first with Ms. Culbreth. Decency and in order. I apologize, Ms. Culbreth. Let us start with prayer. Dear God, we thank you for this beautiful day. We thank you for your presence with us. We thank you for the ability to hear and understand today the words that you're allowing us to bring forth and allow the knowledge to soak into the people who need it, and that their actions reflect what they've learned. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. My name is Norma Culbreth, and I'm with Anthony Gallant State Farm. I'm a new agent there. It'll be probably a year in August, but I really love working with the team that Mr. Gallant has built up there. I love working with his agency because he's a man that participates in the community. So I appreciate that. He helps our people. And, sometimes it's good to do that in word and deed, but he also puts his money where his mouth is. He donates to the community as well. So I'm the life insurance specialist in the office. I'm going to be talking about life insurance. So we have an agenda that we're following. So I'm going to talk about the purpose of life insurance, the two main life insurance coverages, and the importance of having life insurance. When I put that on the agenda, I was thinking about we need to, as a people, that needs to be a family conversation. That's something that we haven't done in the past, but we need to start making that a family conversation. We need to, as a family, get together and talk about life insurance. So I'm going to touch on that a little bit. So the importance of having is important to have life insurance. It's well, I don't want to go into that right now. So then also, I'm going to talk about a special program that we started last October. It's called a guaranteed issued whole life plan. I'll be talking about that. It's on the agenda. And also about our agency. And then I have what's called probing questions. So I was talking about we need to, as a family, sit down and talk about life insurance. So some of the things that we need to talk, get the young people there, the old people, have a family conversation. And then something to start the conversation, I call them probing questions. You'll ask your niece, your nephew, your granddaughter, your daughter, do you have life insurance? If you don't, why not? If you do, what do you have it for and why? Because I talk to a lot of people that have insurance. They don't know what a lot of young people have. They say, well, I have insurance at work. I said, well, what do you have? They don't know. Why do you have it? I don't know. They just offered it at work. So those are some things. And when people call in, especially young people, and they say they have insurance at work, I start questioning them. I said, well, you need to go to your HR people and find out what you have. Why do you have this? Not just because it's offered, but it's a benefit actually to your family. And then another probing question is, am I protecting my family or what I love with the best plan? So life insurance can protect your family, but how about your church? You might have a charity that you want to protect that you love. Life insurance can also be for that. So let's talk about the first thing on the agenda is the purpose of life insurance. Why do you want to have life insurance? Well, primarily life insurance is a death benefit. So it's a death benefit, but it provides financial protection for your family. If you pass away, you're going to get Your beneficiaries will receive the proceeds. So if you have a mortgage, that's going to help with that mortgage. If they have bills that are unpaid, that's going to help with that. If they have kids that need to go through college, that kid might want to get a car, you've lost that income of that person that's passed away. So that's the purpose of life insurance, acting as a death benefit and also keeping the family out of financial hardship. So the purpose. And what are the two main coverages of life insurance? So we have permanent life and term life. So I'll start with term life. So term life is just like the word says, is for a period of time, for a term. So it could be 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. After that time, the plan stops. So a lot of people will say to me, well, I don't want anything like that that's going to stop. But what if you could get something like that you're paying $20, $30 a month, and if anything happens to you, you can give your family $100,000, $200,000, $1,000,000, but you're not paying a lot for that. So a term is for families that have children or something else that they love. They can leave a large sum of money that can help with college, help with that house, that mortgage. So say, your kids are in elementary school. So you want to have, if anything happens to you at that time, you want to have monies that could be passed on to them, large sums of money. So that's what term is. So I recommend a lot of people get 20 years because their kids will be, adults, will be able to take care of themselves, get a 20-year term. So at a certain age, you can't even, I think it's probably in your, when you get to 50, you can't get more than a 20-year term. So why not get a term when you're young? You can get a 30-year term. Last you for 30 years. So that's what a term is. It lasts for a period of time. And a term will renew. It'll renew after it ends, but it's going to renew at the age you are. So insurance is based on your age and your health. That's how you're going to pay your premium. So when that term ends, it'll renew at a higher premium. But what you can also do with a term, you can convert it to a whole life. And I'm going to be talking about the whole life. So that's the term. Do we have any questions about? Yes, sir. Oh, okay, 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 okay. So just write that down. So about your term, because that's a good question. I'm sorry, I didn't know we were gonna Okay, so that's the term for a period of time, a large lump sum of money, but for a low premium. Then there's the permanent life insurance. So that lasts you for your whole life. Now, all these insurances really you'll pay a lower premium if you get it at an early age, because like I said, it's based on age and your health. So when you're younger, you might not have certain health conditions because you can actually be declined life insurance for certain health issues. So you want to get all these insurances so that's the conversation at the table with the family. Let's start your insurance while you're young, even the term. You could, young people in their 20s, they're paying $17, $18 for $100,000 term. And that is for the whole period of the policy. For that 20 years, it's going to be level premium for that amount of money. So I think if young people knew that, they would get that kind of coverage. So, get it when you're young, and when you get married, you'll still have, that insurance so they could probably get the 30-year term in your, in your 20s. You can get the 30-year term. So that's the term life. And then there's the permanent insurance, which is whole life, that lasts you for your whole life. So that's good, again, to get when you're young because it's at a lower premium. But the amounts of money, because it's for your whole life, The $25,000 whole life premium will probably be the same as a $100,000 term. So you see the difference, 25,000, 100,000. So you know why I want to get that small amount of money. Well, what happens with whole life is it accumulates a cash benefit. The term isn't accumulating a cash benefit. It's just going to pay you that, just what if situation. If you pass away, you want to leave your family taken care of. So the whole life is going to accumulate a cash benefit that you can borrow from. So it's good for young people to get that. So over the years, it's going to accumulate a cash benefit. They can borrow from it. If they want to get a car or whatever, they could be their own bank. They can borrow from that. So that's the reason why young people need to get a whole life as well. I know some companies, they really push the term life because it's not as expensive. But I think the whole life is good for young people too because they're paying a lower premium. The cash benefit is accumulating through the years, and that's going to last you to your 100. And then again, you might develop some health problems, so you can't get that insurance. Or sometimes, if with certain health problems, you can get the insurance, but your premium would be higher because of some conditions you have. So that's the whole life that's lasting you for your whole life. So older people we're finding are getting that too because they're using it maybe for final expenses. So they're getting a smaller whole life policy. And that's what we're advocating with our guaranteed issued for older, well, actually from ages 45 to 80. This is a guaranteed issued whole life plan. Remember I said like you could be declined from insurance? Well, with this plan, you can't be declined. You can have cancer, COPD, be on dialysis. You will be approved with this plan. So it's basically a whole life. So it's accumulating the cash benefit, ages 45 to 80. Now that's the ages you get in. After that, you're in it to your 100. It's accumulating the cash benefit. Doesn't matter what health problems you have. When we write the application, the plan is effective that very time. As soon as you pay that premium, that goes in that same day, the plan is issued. And when I print out my applicants, I print out them a receipt. They get their policy number right there on the spot. So no medical exams. So with those other insurances I was talking about, the term and the other whole life, there might be some medical questions. And so that's how they can to knock you out of things or increase your premium. There's no medical questions on this. It's guaranteed issue. So I think I really like this plan. And the rate is locked in. The rate doesn't change. One other thing that goes with this that some people, have questions about, it does have a limited benefit. So that means the first 2 years of the plan, if you were to pass away, then we would pay you back what you put in plus 5%, which I think is good. I haven't really heard of a plan that pays what you put in plus another percentage. Then after but for accidental passing, like if you were in a car accident, fall off a ladder, it pays immediately. There's no waiting on it. But if it's from natural causes, then it has to be within those 2 years, and that's when you're paid back what you put in plus the 5%. So that's our guaranteed. Oh, and the face amount is from 10,000 to 15,000. So, if anybody wants to talk to me, it's easy for me to give quotes on this. You can just call me on the phone. I have a quoting system. You can even call me at home if I have my computer. I can give you, a quote on that. And historically, men pay a little bit more on their insurance with all insurance. The insurance companies see them as a higher risk than women. So their costs tend to be a little bit more. But just to give you an example, like maybe so it starts at 45 to 80. So someone closer to 45, say with $10,000, I might be paying 30 something dollars a month. Closer to the 80, that might be like 70. So the premiums range, there's a range, but what I like about it is no health questions. So when we're doing the application, just your basic information and your beneficiary is basically all the information that's needed on that guaranteed issue. So I really like that plan. I really advocate that and push that a lot. So I was saying that, I really love being at Anthony Gallant State Farm. We work there as a team. And State Farm is a company that's been around since the 20s. So they're very financially stable company. So they offer auto and home insurance. They're the number one, actually, auto insurer, property and casualty insurer in the country. So sometimes people say, well, I didn't know you offer life insurance. Well, we do offer life insurance and we're very stable. We can be trusted. You could, we won't be going out of business anytime soon. So we're financially stable. So like I said, life insurance needs to be something that we sit down at the table and talk about with our families. Do you have life insurance with our young people? Because life insurance, you could pass on your legacy through life insurance. And that's something that we as a people don't do. I don't know. It's probably we weren't taught. We didn't grow up like that. Certain things we didn't talk about. That was grown folks' business. But it needs to be the whole family business now. So that can be your legacy that you pass on to your children, your grandchildren. It needs to be a conversation. So it also needs to be part of your financial planning. So that's another thing. We don't plan the way that we should. So that should be life insurance should be part of your financial planning. Started at a young age where you have low premium. So those are things that we don't know. Insurance is a lot cheaper when you start at a younger age. You don't have any health problems, so the insurance company is not seeing it as a big risk. You're young, your premiums will be lower. You can get a larger amount of money to take care of your family. So that's an important conversation to have at your family table. So that's all. That's all I have. I don't know if we'll have questions at the end. Okay, so I have packages available for people about things that I talked about. Thank you.
Good morning. I am Tawana Smith. I represent my agency, EAS Insurance Group, but I represent Lincoln Heritage Life Insurance Agency. And they've been around for over 63 years, the number one final expense agency in the nation. Ms. Norma talked to you about life insurance, but I want to talk to you today about final expense. And the reason I want to talk to you about final expense is considered a specific plan for a specific need. Life insurance is for the living. That takes care of the mortgage that Miss Norma talked about, those medical bills and things of that nature that are left behind after you're gone. It covers for your children's college education. It covers for your unexpected salary that is no longer offered in your household. What happens when you go away? Your salary goes away. So life insurance covers all of those needs. We offer final expense insurance because that is a specific plan for a specific need, your final wishes. Time waits for no one. Every 12 seconds, we've been in here today already 19 minutes, but every 12 seconds, someone dies. 7,452 people will die today. And I want to make it live a little bit. If we had 75 to 100 people in this congregation today, 20 of us would die today. So this is something that we need to have those hard conversations about. And still, 7 out of 10 adults do not have any type of life insurance, whether it's regular life insurance or final expense insurance. So that leaves a financial burden on your family when you leave this earth. We do not know the day nor the hour when we're going to leave. We have unexpected deaths. We have expected deaths. We have tragic deaths. We have accidental deaths. So we need to take our final wishes planning absolutely serious. I'm here to talk to you again today about 9 things that you need to know about life insurance. And I'm really not talking about the life insurance that you have on your job, because even if you leave your job, your life insurance policy stays with your job. You do not own that policy. I need to say that again. If you are one of those people, Gaston County, we're known for being on our job 20, 30 years, 40 years. I know someone that's been on their job 40 years. They've paid into that life insurance policy for 40 years. The minute they leave that job, they lose their life insurance coverage. Now, they may be offered COBRA insurance or another type of insurance that they can carry with them, but it's going to be tremendously more expensive. I have a client, she had to go on disability for health concerns, and with that, the offer that she was given cost her more per month than she was receiving in her disability benefit. So you cannot afford to keep your life insurance after you leave your job. Therefore, we need to do additional planning. We're all about educating the community here today. So we are here today to educate you. Ms. Norma gave you some tremendous information today. So we want you to get this education. We want you to sit down and have those hard conversations with your family at the dinner table, at your 4th of July cookouts, at your Labor Day cookouts. When everybody is together, this is the time to sit down and have those hard conversations. Do you have life insurance? What is it for? What are your wishes? What do you want us to do? You need to sit down and have those conversations. And instead of waiting until death brings you together and then it's too late, you're running around, you don't know what to do, and that is not the time to make emotionally financial decisions, emotionally planning your funeral or any of that nature, even the things that go on in your life afterwards. These things need to be planned before you leave this earth. And quotes and information are free 99. Free 99. It does not take you anything. We're not here to sell you anything. We're not anytime here to sell you anything. We're here to educate you and get this information into your hands. It's so important to make sure that you and your family are covered, because we don't want you to let death be bills and burdens for your family. Bills, burdens, and debt. We want them to be able to mourn you effectively and without having to make these decisions at the time. So I want to ask you something today. If you were to die today, remember 7,452 people are going to die today. If one of those people were you, would your family be prepared? Would your family be stressed out trying to find finances to cover your burial? Or have you taken the responsibility and planned effectively so that your family won't be struggling to find $3,000 to $15,000 in a matter of 2 to 5 days? If you have that person in your family that can strike a check for $15,000 today, then you're not the person that needs this information. But if your family collectively cannot come up with $2,000 to $15,000 in a matter of 2 to 5 days, you have some planning to do. You have a responsibility to make sure that your final wishes are in place. 9 things that you need to know about funerals. Um, Funerals are going up. The cost of funerals are going up every day. Everything after COVID went up anyway, but funerals are no different. Funerals and the funeral service business is a business. It's still a service business. We can't continue to ask for GoFundMe's and fish fries and continue to ask Costner or to do this for free. They cannot do this for free. They have to eat too. And caskets cost, services cost, their gas cost, their cars cost, the flowers, the signing tape, everything has a cost. If it was your business, you would want to the community to respect your business. Some of the things that consumers don't realize is that there are things that are not included in a funeral price point. And let me back up real quick. Every funeral service has a GPL, which is a general price list. So if you're curious about what the funeral is going to cost, what your funeral can cost, and in terms of helping you to plan on how much you need, you can call any funeral service from here to yonder and ask them for their GPL. They're required by the funeral law to provide you with that price list, and they're happy to do that to assist you in planning for the worst day of your family's life. That's not the time that your family needs to know this information. You have a casket price list, you have services price list, and people are not educated enough on the things that are costly at the time of your death. Did you know that it costs maybe upwards of almost $2,000 to remove your remains from where you took your last breath? So if you died at the hospital, your body cannot be moved for free. Your body has to be moved and prepped, and that alone can cost up to $2,000, depending on what state you're in, depending on what price list that is. There are prices for all of the services. Everyone wants to look nice in their going away services. It costs for your makeup, your hair. It costs for someone to dress you. It costs for the team to service our family at that time. Everything has a cost. There is not much to protect you against people giving you different prices, because every funeral service is owned by a different owner, and they are allowed to make their own price list as we go. So you might have a funeral service at the end of the corner of Franklin and Garrison, and you may have a funeral service at the corner of South New Hope and Belmont Road, and their price lists are totally different. Okay? Also, funeral costs are include the service that take place within your service and in the church, but that does not even include the burial, the plot, the opening and closing of the grave. All of those are additional prices that need to be taken into consideration when you are planning your final wishes. So also, the debts that you leave behind do not go away automatically. Your loved ones will still be facing the debts that you left behind. So even if you do not have final expense even if you have final expense, You may want to make sure that you have enough to cover your final wishes and also to cover some of those debts. That's where a life insurance policy can also be beneficial on top of your final expense policy. Cremation, because of the price of funeral services being higher, and also because of COVID and some of the other things of that nature, cremations have become more popular. I'm not sure because I even had that argument with my mom that I'm not burning you. But she was like, well, I don't want you to pay, I don't want you guys to spend all that money on putting me in the ground. And that was a super hard conversation. And eventually I won, but those are the type of conversations that you have to have. But cremations are, because they're becoming even more popular, you can no longer get a cremation for $500, $600. The total service is still going to cost you thousands of dollars. And everyone wants to opt out of having a traditional funeral service because they think, well, cremation is much cheaper. Not necessarily. Sometimes you can get a traditional funeral service for just as much as a cremation service, depending on the things that you keep in and the things that you take out. Everyone does not qualify for the federal state benefit. Some people say, well, I'm going to get this benefit from the state. And I'm not sure if you've been listening to us today, but $255 from the state is not going to cover much, barely cover for them to bring the chairs and the signing book, the guest book, and the flower to hang on your door. It's barely going to cover that. And you have to qualify first. You may not even qualify for the $255. Final expense is commonly called burial insurance or final expense insurance, and it is one of the most effective and trusted ways to pay for your final wishes, because you know that you have a smaller plan in place to cover for just your wishes. Your family will be able to take that larger policy that you have and put it to use with all those other things that are needed that I mentioned earlier. Another thing that I want to mention about final expense is, and in my case, Lincoln Heritage has spent billions of dollars just last year and almost this year. We're caught up almost this year, but spent billions of dollars on providing for funerals. And we have a specific plan for a specific need. We have, and I do have this pamphlet that I have for all of you today. My table is out front with information for everyone, but I do have a gift for all of you today. All of my clients get free of charge what is called our Funeral Consumer Guarding Society plan. It's your final wishes. This pamphlet outlines everything that you want your family to know about your final wishes. It also helps you in regards to the information that is needed for the funeral home to get your your death certificate. So all the needed information, your children or family members may not know your social security number. You may not leave it readily available for them, but that is needed in order to get your your death certificate, excuse me. And your final wishes, you may have some co-workers, some childhood friends, some people that you want to pay their last respects when it comes to your time. And all those people can be listed in your final wishes booklet. And that way, your family has everything they need in one spot to take care of your final wishes. They're not scrambling around to figure out, who do we call? What did mama want? What did daddy want? What was daddy's favorite color? Did daddy want a cremation or did he want a traditional funeral? All of your wishes are outlined in your final wishes booklet. Um, with your final wishes booklet, you're even allowed to write out your service, what songs you want, what scriptures you want, who you want to preside over your service. It's all here. Now, those are some tough decisions to sit down and make, but you will be so much at peace and at ease knowing that once you close this book, your family has everything that they need. I can't tell you enough. My mom did not have this particular book, but she had a book. My mom was something else. She even took selfies. Unbeknownst to us, we figured it out later, but she took selfies because she was battling cancer for the third time. So she knew that her time was coming. So she took selfies and we found them in her phone and they were available for her obituary. But when we opened the book, she had everything laid out. She had her policy, her book, even the people who we needed to call. Everything was in a folder in one place. Imagine how relieved your family will be to have I know these are hard conversations. And I know sometimes you may think that it's creepy to talk about it, but we all have an appointed time. We all have a day. We don't know when that day is going to be, but we do have a day. How many of you here know someone that passed this week? Anyone know anybody that that passed this week? Anybody heard of anybody that passed this week? Anybody know of anybody that passed last week? Anybody had to plan a funeral for a family member? Anybody had to be financially responsible for a funeral service of a family member? It's no joke. So we are here today to assist you as a community with making these plans. We're here to make it easier and less stressful and to put you and your family at ease. Again, I am Tawana Smith. I am with EAS Insurance Group, but I represent Lincoln Heritage Life Insurance Company, and I am here for you if you have any questions, and I'll have this information available for you afterwards. Thank you for your time today.
Good morning. My name is Erwin Costner, EB, whatever. Now, I didn't know this thing was going to be live or whatever. That's all right. But I got to get comfortable before, because I got to leave and go to work. And but what we're going to do, we're going to talk a little bit. Now, I'm going to get real with you, folks. The light in my eyes. Does that hurt anything that me moving? Okay. We're going to get real. Oh, God, it's got to be in the mic. Okay. All right. No, I like to use my hands. We're gonna get real here, folks. I'm gonna tell you some real life situations. Okay. What I deal with is I deal with people at the worst time of life. Oh, I got to do this. Let me. Okay, yeah, they need to hear me online. First of all, thank you all for showing up. All right, now what that tells me is you got an interest, because what we talking about, you see every day. We done been to many funerals here. We're going to go to other funerals, and we don't know who it's going to be. Now, let's get a little biblical with this thing, because we're in the church. Now, I ain't trying to be no preacher. God says it's appointed unto man one time to die. One time. We all going to leave here, folk. You don't know when it's going to be. I was at a service last week. They were having a service down at Boyd Friendship, installing a new minister. Young man over there playing the organ. praising the Lord. 5 days later, he was dead. I was sitting, I say, who would have ever thought? Death comes like a thief. Now, you know how thieves come. They don't tell you they're coming. It's going to happen. We need to talk about it. If you don't talk about it and decide what's going to happen when you die, somebody else will. Somebody else will make the decision on what's going to happen to you. And it might as well be your choice. You make the rest of the choices in your life. You know, life is funny. We accumulate a lot of things in life. Look at it, folks. Look at me. I need to throw a lot of things away. But you know, the day I die, you ain't going to have but one suit on, one dress. You know what they're going to do with the rest of that stuff? They're going to either put it on the side of the road, they're going to give it away. It ain't going to have the value to nobody else that it had to you. This is one thing that we need to decide ourselves. Now, I like the thing about the young lady say she was talking to her mama. Mama maybe wanted to be cremated. Mama, I ain't gonna burn you. It ain't your decision. That's what your mama want. You take that to the Lord as far as how it's affecting you. All right? Now, we're gonna leave him. It's gonna cost you something. It's gonna cost you something to leave this world. That could be anywhere. I'm talking about for our prices, y'all. Simple cremation. $16.95. Let me tell you what you get for that. When you die, we'll go pick you up. We'll bring you to the funeral home. We're going to put you in a container, cardboard container. We're going to get the necessary forms taken. We're going to take you to a crematory. They're going to burn you. They're going to send you back in a little temporary box for $16.95. Now, you can take that. We can get that to the family. You can go, and that's it. And that happens, folk. Folk leave this world. Don't nobody know nothing. They don't put nothing in the paper. Ain't no service. And you say, what was their life worth? But they had the opportunity to do this. And let me say this also, folks. Like I said, we're going to be real. There's a lot of folk walking around here, dressed up, living right, ain't got a bit of life insurance. And the day they die, they wife or they sister or brother gonna sit in there and don't know what to do. And you know what? Don't be fooled. Think that because you die today, we got to have a funeral next week. When you get the money is when things happen. I hate to put it that way, folks, but that's how it is. My business is just like when you go to Walmart. They let you roll that little cart all the way around the store. But when you get to the counter, you got to pay. Now, we need to laugh about this, folks. Because it's when something happens, it ain't funny then. It's real. It's real. You got to talk about this. I know you don't like it. Ain't never a good time. But you know what I take, especially man and wife or whatever, have some fun with it. Have some fun with it. You come to a lot of funerals on the way home, you say, you know, if that was my funeral, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have had so-and-so sing. I wouldn't, why they do all that? That's the time to talk about it. I had a lady come in my office one day. She said, EB, I'm not doing well, but my husband is in a wheelchair. I want to make sure things are all right for him in case something happened to me. And death ain't if, it's when. It ain't if, it's when. Okay? We sit there, we picked out things. Who would have known 6 months later she was dead? Now, her husband handicapped in a wheelchair. Somebody was helping him with the arrangements. You should have seen the expression on his face when he found out everything was taken care of. You talk about peace of mind, folks. Now, you can't do nothing about grief. Ain't nothing I can do. If I gave you the funeral away, it ain't going to help ease nothing. Because ain't nothing like losing a loved one, especially when it's unexpected. Now, life insurance is good to have, but you know what gets me? Why is life insurance in with death? A lot of folk got life, EB, I got $10,000 worth of life insurance. Now, if you die today, that's good. Next year, you better get some more or have some more money because everything going up. And see, the one thing you don't know about, normal folk don't know, is about, let's say, a casket. All you know about a casket is what you see. That's all. If I showed you a picture today of a casket, no, let me back up. If I said I had a 25-inch TV, I would sell you for $1,000. You would say, EB, I can get a 25-inch TV for $200 or $199. If I said I got a 20-gauge non-protective casket for $1,500, you ain't got nothing to compare that with. You going on what I say. Now, that's another thing. Funeral homes in the business to make money, folk. Some folk could take advantage of your grief. Now, let me tell you, let me give you a little secret. Something happened, not if us. If in the funeral home you handle it, you walk in, don't tell them how much insurance you got. That ain't none of their business. All they need to know is whatever that bill is, you gonna pay it. A lot of people don't even have insurance. I've had some people put on a credit card, American Express, black card. Wow, is that why you got American Express to put on somebody's funeral? And some people do it out of guilt. Let me tell you, folks, we as families, we done changed a lot now. I heard this young lady talking about somebody collectively putting some money together. You think somebody, I'm getting ready to go on vacation in 2 weeks. You think I'm going to give to him my $1,000? No, it don't work that way. This is one thing you need to take care of for yourself. Man and wife, take care for yourself. Ask your husband, when something happened to you, baby, what you want? I ain't worried about it. Well, if he ain't worried about it, you better be. No, for real, folks. Don't get mad at him. We all got to deal with this death thing every day we walk. We don't know when it's over. So don't get scared. Plan, prepare. Now, it's as easy as this. Like you say, insurance companies, you can get free quote. You can call me. We can sit down and talk. I talk. You see, I talk. I give it all to you. You can walk out, and I could never see you again. I talk to a lot of folk when I read they dead. Gregory done buried them. I ain't mad. I just hope they got some money to pay Mr. Gregory, because that's what this is about. Now, you say, how do you choose a funeral home? I don't know. What do you go on who, what they got, colors? I don't know. All I know is you dead, and that's it. That's it. It's a lot of cost involved. Caskets. You got to put the casket in a container before you put it in the grave, the cost of the grave, to dig the grave. Let me tell you about this. All right, churches are blessed. They got a cemetery to a certain extent. One thing you got to do is you got to get your rules right. If you remember this church, you get a free grave. No, it don't work that way then now. A lot of churches are now saying you got to be a member and in good standing. You got to pay into this in order for you to get a grave. That makes sense, folks. Because if you're trying to save the space for your sure enough members that support you, you don't get them away. Church is getting $1,000 or more for graves now. A grave in the city right now, I think is $650. Hole in the ground. They don't go 6 feet, they go 4.5. All right? A grave, let's say $650. You go up in the Gastonia Park, they're gonna want $4,500 just for the same space. What we contracted with a gentleman to dig that grave or open and close it, $895. They're gonna charge you $1795 during the week. Now on the weekend, they're gonna get more. And you know, we like to have our funerals on Saturday. You see? You see? This is truth, folks. Now, this is truth. You can't run from this. Now, my style might be wrong. I don't know. I don't care now. All I want you to know is be informed. What you do with it is on you. It's about like preaching. You feed whoever comes. You can't do nothing with what they go with. But you done your part. Now, I done seen it work some good ways, too. I done seen some folk come in, sit, and we talk. They plan it out. A year or so later, they die. and everything is just like that. But let me tell you this little funny thing. I'm gonna tell you some little stories here because I got to use up their time that them other ladies had. Nah, folks, this is real. I like this. You can't do information. You say get wisdom. The Bible say get wisdom, but get understanding. You got to get an understanding of what you got. Okay? And that's what this is. We learn. See, you can call these ladies after this. I didn't quite understand. Because, see, some of us don't want to ask. That question might be stupid in front of them. No, ain't no stupid questions now. Ain't no stupid questions now. You need to know. If you don't know, ask somebody. Tell you. Anyway, lady came in. We buried her husband. She had about 5 or 6 kids. We sit there and we picked out casket and we picked out everything. It come down about them limousines. Well, we back to doing limousines now. And they got all this stuff with limousine. They was just running up on mom. You know, mama had insurance on her husband. But the kids was just adding stuff. Daddy would have wanted this. Daddy would have wanted that. And this. Anyway, it was a lot. 2 things after the lady came in, I guess, to pay us for something. She said, EB, you know something? 2 things. I'm going to sit here right now, and I'm going to plan out my funeral because I don't want you to have to deal with what you had to deal with when my folk was in here, okay? We picked out simple little casket, simple service. She was satisfied. That's all that mattered to me. She was satisfied. Well, not too long after that, she died. Pulled a little fold out. Well, anyway, during this conversation, we talking about limousines. She said, EB, I'm going to tell you the truth. They got cars they can drive. I wrote a note. All right? Now, and when I opened it up, we were going through things. First of all, I don't like that casket. No problem. You can change it. You get anything more, you're going to have to pay. All of a sudden, that casket looked pretty good now. Okay? Now, we come down to the cars. We skip over that. EB, you didn't say nothing about limousines. I'm going to tell you, just like your mama told me, you got cars you can drive. Now, somebody got offended. Well, what you going to do about your money? I said, I ain't got to worry about that because she already paid me. Now, she had peace. I had peace. Your family members will run up your money? No, for real. Because they sit there, all they want, man, we get caught up in funerals, y'all. No, I mean, for real. You understand this? You'll go to a funeral and you'll leave and you'll say, oh, we had a good time. We shouted. I mean, but that ain't what this is about. You ought to sit out here in any funeral and say, Lord, if that was my day, if that day was my day, how would it be? Because I'm sure you done heard some stories from maybe your friends of yours. Husband died. I go back out to, EB, I should have listened to you. I didn't plan to spend that much money. Because you know what? City Gastonia still want their money. AT&T still want their money. Your phone, life keep right on going. They don't give you no break. The city don't say you get a 30-day grace period because your husband died. No, they don't do that. Life keep right on going. Folk with you right now, next week, they ain't going to be worried about you because they back to their life. See, everybody got a life now, folks, but this is one thing you got to take care of because it will make things a lot easier. I like the fact I done had ladies like that mama did. Write down what you want. Write your obituary. Don't have nobody write up nothing on you. Put your own stuff down there. Now, the thing about having somebody do your funeral, I think that too. But see, we don't know when death is. That person might be dead then. They might be singing a new kind of song then. But plan it out what you want. But the main thing is pay for what you want. $10,000 life insurance ain't going to get it, folks. Folks say, I got 10. I want to leave my grandkids 5. I say, well, if all you trying to do is spend this 5, we can cremate you or something. Well, you better do something else. That's all this is. I ain't trying to throw nothing. I'm just trying to be real with you, folk. I give a lot of information at funerals, out in the parking lot. We'll be standing out there and guys say, EB, well, how much that casket cost he laying in up there? I'll say, that's about $2,500. What? But these are decisions that's got to be made. And don't nothing happen. Because see, when you die, your next of kin got to tell a hospital or somebody what funeral home. That's the first thing. Now, let me say this. That don't mean that you got to stay with that funeral home. I'm just telling you the options you got. We got a lot of folk, they want to get the body removed. So you get it removed to a funeral home. You come in and sit down and talk to them. They ain't talking the way you want. You get it transferred to another funeral home. I mean, you could do that. It's all right because it's on you. It's your money. But it ought to be your decision as far as what happened to it. Now, if you got life insurance, you want to leave your kids money, you need to have all that. You need to come talk to me. You hear them talk about term. I had term when I was younger. I got into that thing, buy term and invest the difference. Well, after 10 years and I was still living, and I got approved for more term, my premium doubled. Because I was older, more health situations. All right, so I said, okay. Then I had the thing where you had a whole lot of life insurance. Well, my kid's grown. I'm 65, I'm 65, so that insurance thing is basically what you want it to be about. Leaving your kids ain't a good idea either, folks, a lot of times. They may not be emotionally, responsible. I've seen situations, my cousin died, left her she had $100,000 for insurance. We spent $15,000 on the funeral. They split the rest between 2 grandkids. And in a year, that $40-some thousand was gone. Because of education, we don't know how to handle money. So, I mean, the thing about education is real, folks. I mean, this ain't a scary thing. Because whether you scared to die or what, you still gonna die. Take the time, think about, first of all, if you want to be cremated, write it down, write everything you want. Let your loved ones know that that's what you want. You may not be, Mama, I ain't want, well, you need to take it to the Lord. Because this is what I want. Then if you want to make sure, go ahead and pay. Now, I got some premiums to tell you. I can't sell you all the stuff. See, nowadays, folks spending a lot of money on stuff. We had a family the other day spent $2,300 on programs that they gave out at funerals. They were real nice. So that's the kind of money. You get T-shirts. Everybody got to have the same sneakers on. We getting like that now. But the insurance, I think, is meant to be for the people behind you. You got to think about this. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to have to get a disposition, whether you bury it, put in the wall, entombed, or cremated. It's going to happen to us all. We don't know when. Like the young lady said, how many people die today? I would be willing to bet you. I ain't trying to scare nobody, but this is real. If we got together on the same day a year from now, there's a possibility somebody may be gone. That's real. It could be tomorrow. But we just need to be ready. Now, I got some plans. You can pick out your service. You can go ahead and pick out your casket and a container. I don't have graves and all that. And you can pay on it. Some of them around $100 a month. You don't pay but for 10 years. Now you heard the lady say about insurance. See, insurance is right. The first 2 years is based on, they go back and look at them health questions. Because see, a lot of folks get sick, they want to get insurance right then. Insurance company's smart. That's why they put that 2-year thing in there. All right, the guarantee thing, that's good. Regardless of what you got, they guarantee you they're going to give you some insurance. Going to be a little higher, but you got insurance. It's guaranteed. Now, with my insurance come to me. To the funeral home to pay for what you got. And the way it works is this. If you get something that's $7,500, let's say you paying $105 a month for 10 years, and something happened with you in the first year, the insurance company going to pay 70% of that $7,500. So you might make 2 premiums of $200 and come out with close to $5 toward what you're doing now. Most insurance companies go 2 years. This insurance company I'm dealing with, go after the first year, when it goes into the second year, it'll pay the full amount. For 10 years, that's all you pay is 10 years. After 10 years, we want you to keep living. You don't pay another dime in it. Well, what happens? When you die, you come, whatever those things are that you picked out, you compare that with whatever the policy is, all right? We got to take whatever the policy is, because there's a little interest growing, but it ain't nothing like savings or all that other stuff. It's real low, but it's some kind of interest. But you already paid on it to where we won't have to come back and ask your family for additional money. When I first got in this thing 30-some years ago, you could bury somebody for a decent funeral for $1,000. Now, if you get away with less than 10 with everything you putting in it, that's today. Ain't nothing nobody can say. I can make my prices whatever I want. And some funeral homes do that because they see folk got money. They at a vulnerable time. They'll tell you this thing, oh, your husband would love this casket. He always told me he liked that right there. See, all that may not be true, but at that time, you're trying to get some peace with things, but that ain't the time to do it. Now, I do a pretty good job at it because I don't rush you. I don't tell you what to do. Some folk can't deal with it. They'll call me and say, EB, I can't come this morning. I ain't ready to deal with this yet. I said, I understand. Then some folk come, it's 1 or 2 of them in there. Then sometimes you sit in there and it's 8 or 10 family members, but ain't but one talking and ain't but one doing nothing. That's all right, because at the end of all my conversations, whatever we go through, I say, folk, everybody here, you see what we had to go through? Somebody got to do that for us. Now, if we don't have some problem, they trying to come up with some money, is that going to be the thing they talk to you about? We need to know more. And it's simple. It used to be we were scared of death. I don't know why it's going to happen. You can't change it. You got to deal with it. But you can prepare. I mean, we're trying to get into heaven, baby. That's preparation. You can't get in if you ain't prepared. Now, if you want to just lay around the funeral home till some of your family members decide that they want to put some of their money to bury you, then you're going to probably lay around there a little while, and that happens, folks. I mean, families ain't what they used to be. I've had, let's say you got a brother or something, and maybe, whatever but you've been just trying to make it through the world and something happened. And you get all the folk together because y'all want to have a nice funeral for your brother. And some of them sisters or brothers may say, he should have did this, see all that. Then that ain't the time for all that. That ain't the time for all that. It's real then. It's real. Now, I'm saying all this not to scare you, but to tell you what's real. And see, some of this, folk, it could be next week. I mean, really, it could. I mean, I talked to a lady. I saw her and her mama one Saturday at a thing. And then that Monday, her husband was dead. And see, the thing about it, when I asked about him on Saturday, he was at the Y working out. So let me finish up here, folks, just to say this. I know I done ramble, but one thing I want you to feel is my passion for what's going to happen, okay? I ain't trying to bury you, because if I know you, I'll go to your funeral, because I think that's what, and all of it, I think we go to funerals for the person, and I think we need to be asking the question, what if it was my day? Okay? If you need any other information, call me at the funeral home any day, anytime. We can sit and talk. You can ask me 3 days. Anyway, everything, it's all right. I want to thank Senator for this. Nanette, let me tell you something, young lady. Great. I've been praying for something like this. I've been wanting to do something like this. Didn't know how to do it. Now I see how to do it. All right? Thank y'all and for everything.
Don't go anywhere, please. Okay, we're going to take questions now, and I'm going to give mics to my 3 speakers. I'll get this one up in when I get finished. Okay. We have a mic up front for everyone so that the people online can hear the questions and receive the answers. So I step back and please come forward, the speakers.
Oh, we're gonna do it that way, okay.
Testing.
Testing.
Are we taking questions online or just in the, okay.
Come on, somebody, I know somebody got a quote, okay, all right.
Hi, the question I have is on term life insurance. Can you briefly give a description of the advantage or the disadvantages of it? Because I've heard people talk about it, but I still don't understand, from not just saying you want to be a cheap person about getting the cheap insurance. That's not what I'm concerned with. But
Okay.
what's the advantage of the term life versus the whole life? And I know it depends on your situation and needs, but I still do not get the difference in the two.
Yeah. And that's common. People really don't get that because they say, why want to get something that ends? But just think about this. You got a family, you got a mortgage. Your mortgage is one of the biggest debts that you can have. You got a $200,000, $300,000 houses, $400,000, $500,000 now. So if one of those breadwinners, okay, oh, if one of those breadwinners leaves, goes on, and we gonna leave here, you got a $500,000 house, you got 4 kids, but you got a term policy for $300,000. Does that make sense? You've lost that breadwinner. So insurance is about risk. What if? So what if you are no longer, that income is no longer there? Are they going to be able to stay in that house? Probably not, because they won't be able to afford it. But if you had a $200,000, $300,000, a $500,000 life insurance policy, you could pay for half or, more of that house. So that's the advantage of having term. When you have children, we don't know when we're going to leave here. You get that large amount of money that you can replace the income. So it's an income replacer, basically. That's what I see it as. The whole life is going to take you for your whole life. So that's good. And I think the whole life is better for kind of like the final expenses. I encourage people to get a term and a whole life when you're young, because you're going to get a good premium on both. So you get that term, 20 years, 30 years, get through your children growing up. Then you still have that whole life that's been accumulating a cash benefit. So when you retire, you can draw some money out of that. Tax-free.
I want to mention also, just to give you a little brief definition, because everyone may not know what the difference is between term and whole life. Term is more of a temporary insurance. Term can go away or it will end at a specific time. If you have a 10-year policy, a 15-year policy, a 20-year policy, at the end of that term, which is why it's called term insurance, that insurance is going to end. So at that point, your policy goes away.
It does, yeah.
Well,
Okay.
if you have that particular term policy, if you have you have a 10-year term policy, that term policy is going to go away or can go away, and then you will have to re-qualify for an additional policy at your current age, your current medical condition, your state, and all those things are taken in consideration. You may be able to convert that policy into a whole life policy or something else, but you're going to have to qualify at your current condition, whether that's your age, your medical condition, or whatever. Your premium will change.
Yeah, that's true, but there are some policies that you can convert with no insurability. They don't look at the insurability.
Okay.
Yeah, there are policies
Now,
that
now,
you
now
can
let me ask you,
convert.
does your premium change?
You mean at the end of the term?
No, no, if you get 10 years
Okay,
and it's, let's say 50,000,
right.
all right? At the end of the 10 years, you say you can renew or whatever. Is it still the same premium?
No, it's not the
all right,
price is
it's
okay,
not
not
the
locked
same.
in.
It's not.
Okay.
That's why I
Yeah.
recommend 20 and 30-year terms. So it gets you through the period of your. If you get it when your child is 5, so they're 25 when that term ends, or 35 if you get the 30-year term. So I think it's just for those years that your children are growing up, that if anything happens to you, that income will be lost. And they would have lost some of the things they could have had during that time. Now, okay, we had the person that asked the question. Is that clear things up for you? Okay. Okay, so what do you think about it now? Okay, 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 okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, my question is to Mr. Costner. Okay, let's say I pass away, but I decide, I tell my family I want to be buried somewhere else in another state. So that means my body's got to be transported. Right?
Yeah.
How expensive is that?
Now, basically, what a lot of funeral homes do is you have to coordinate, depending on the logistics of where you're going. Let's say you're going to another state, the body may have to be flown.
Okay.
Okay, which is no problem between the two funeral homes as far as coordinating with the airline and them picking it up. So it's a simple, that's part of the service also with funeral homes. That if you want to be buried in any other state, as far as coordinating that, coordinating that. And that can be added in on, on your funeral bill. And what I try to do is I try to put a lot of things on the bill so the family just have one bill instead of saying I got to pay the florist over here, I got to pay this lady to sing, I got to do all this. See, we usually handle all that so you'll have one bill. But basically, anything that you want can be coordinated as long as it's acceptable. Okay, yeah. Now, one thing about it is they have to be, certain permits, to transport the body across state lines. But it's no issue. There's no issue. Now, that's the kind of thing need to be discussed and arranged ahead of time. I had a lady that said she wanted to be buried in California. She's from California. I said, you need to go out there, get a funeral home, take care of all that on that side, so that when something happens on this side, it just be a phone call. They'll know what to do. If you, like I tell folks, if you want a spot in the ground, go ahead and start paying on it now. Because it's a hole in the ground, a grave is just like real estate. You see what real estate getting nowadays?
It is.
Hey, they getting like, then you see, Center may get $1,000 for a grave. They want $4,500 about 2 miles up the road. Now, what's the difference in the dirt? It's the people's, what they think. See, they'll say you own all them fountains, all that. But anything ahead of time that you can pay for, I'm from the old school. We used to have layaway.
That ain't
See,
too
some
old.
of y'all know what's
not
going
too
on.
old.
I don't
had
think you can do
layaway.
that now. I used to go up there a week, pay on your layaway. Then, you were looking for that day, you get your outfit or whatever. So it's the same type of thing. And I tell folks, there used to be an old commercial, Fram oil filter. Had a saying, say, you can pay me now, or you can pay me later.
I have a comment based on your question. I had a client that he had his son who went on a trip from one state to the other, and his son unexpectedly passed away in another state. So he had to pay for his son's body to be prepped and transported back to his home state, and he paid over $5,000 to have that done. So those are the type of things that we don't take into consideration. We don't know exactly how or when it's going to happen. And if you pass away and you're not at home, say you are on vacation or you have an accident or some things of that nature, it's going to cost to transport your body back to your home location. And in some cases, accidental death policies can cover those premiums and those costs as well. And if you have a policy that is large enough for that to be incorporated, then it's not going to mean a lot. But if you have a $10,000 policy and you have to pay $5,000 to transport your body back home, then you're looking at some tough decisions. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We did have a question online,
Mhm.
and the question is it a good thing to have additional life insurance outside of what the employer gives you?
Absolutely. Can I answer that?
Yeah, I'll answer too.
I speak from experience. I had $455,000 of life insurance before I left corporate America, and that policy is still with corporate America. When you have policies with your job, that employer owns that policy. That policy is not yours, and you cannot take it with you unless you pay astronomical amounts of money to keep it. And most times you can't afford it. So it is a excellent idea to have a policy outside of your job.
Yes, and I agree with that. Ditto that. Is very, I think, because like she said, you don't have control over that policy. You need to have a policy that you have control over. And say, like she said, like people have worked 20, 30 years, they leave their job. Well, when you get insurance again, you're going to get it as a 50 and 60-year-old, and that premium is going to be high. So, why not get something while you're young? You have control over what you have. So I really agree with that. You need something outside of your job that you have control over.
And we leave jobs every day.
Yeah. And then another thing, that's a benefit. They can take that away at any time. They could be offering it, at one time, and then say, okay, we're not going to offer that anymore.
That's right.
So it's really important to have your own.
And then I have a question for myself, as it pertains to pre-needs policies or pre-needs planning. What is your suggestions on that?
I would suggest you make your own decisions as far as what you would like to happen the day is your day. That's simple as that. Now, we've been to enough services to realize what you think is a good funeral. So write that down. And however simple it is, go to a funeral home, because you're going to have to go through a funeral home. There ain't no way you got to go through a funeral home. And like you say, find out. Like she said, good information. You can go to any funeral home, pick up a price list.
Right.
And just walk in and say, I want a price list. Then you can go back home, you can sit down, you can open it up, and you can compare apples with apples. Now, when it comes to caskets, don't be fooled, because they can put a terminology on there. If you don't know what they're talking about, you get caught up on price. Oh, that's nice. That's $3,000. It ain't always that way. But it's best to pre-plan and prepay. Okay? Like I say, you could have 10,000 insurance, life insurance, and that's good today. 5 years from now or next year, that ain't gonna get it. So it depends on basically what you want your insurance to do. I have folk, they don't have no life insurance, but when they die, they stuff taken care of. And that's the most important thing. So
I have an answer to that as well. As an agent with Lincoln Heritage Life Insurance Company, we offer the Funeral Consumer Society plan. And I, as an agent, sit down with my clients and do the pre-planning needs for them. We actually go through all these questions. We even go to the funeral home with our clients. And we make sure that all of those hard questions are answered. And even the things that you don't know, we get those questions answered for you and put all those needs in place for you. And that service is free with any policy that you have with us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I have several questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, first of all, if I understood you right, Mr. Costner, when you were talking about the pre-burial or pre-needs plan that you have, the insurance you have, you've gone through the price list, the person has chosen what they want, and then they come up with a total sum for those items. They pay into it, let's say they pass away 3 years after that's done, and the prices have gone up on that list. Is there additional insurance that needs to be, or money that needs to be paid? Can you do your mic, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, I get carried. When you sit down and they give you a price of what all these things that you picked out cost today, and you start paying on that, let's say 3 years you die, you come back, do that same process. You sit down, what do those things cost now? All right, you take that total, you compare it, because see, this insurance money is gaining interest every year. So if you start out, let's say with 75 first year, it's up a little bit. Whatever the policy pays, we have to accept. We can't charge you no more for that stuff that you picked out.
Okay. So,
all right. So if the casket is $1,500, 5 years from now it's $2,000, you don't have to pay no extra $500.
okay. All right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And that's the thing about it. The casket we sell now for $500, I look back, and when I first started, we sold for $395. The exact same casket.
Okay.
Exact. So inflation is getting everything, but it's about protecting your family, because you don't want folk to have to sit in there and deal when they say, man, I didn't know all that stuff cost like that. I know you didn't. And all of a sudden we at $12,000.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, once you sit there and come to the bill, I don't ask you about no insurance. But once we sit down and we come to the total, I'll ask you, how do you intend to pay me? Now, you can go all kind of ways. They say you got insurance. All I need, if you got insurance, I just need to know the insurance company name, a number, and are you the beneficiary? Because that's who they're going to deal with, folks. So watch who you leave your money to.
My Lord.
No, for real. Yeah. I had a grandmother left her granddaughter $10,000 some years ago. She sit there and told me, EB, I need 5,000 of that. So if you can bury grandmama for 5, you good. Now everybody else upset, but ain't nothing they can do. Grandma thought she was doing the right thing at the right time.
Yep.
And that's all good. But I mean, and we never know how situations gonna do. Right. But make sure who your beneficiary is. And share your wishes with them. That's all right. As I say, if you want to be cremated, tell folk.
That's right.
Because it could happen one way or the other. Now, I don't let folk change. Folk are sitting there and say, Mama wanted to be cremated. Be what you think. I say, if that's what your mama wanted, you have peace of mind knowing you did what she wanted. It ain't about you now. And live with that. So the more you can take care ahead of time, and I mean you don't lead us to nobody else.
Right.
This is what you want, and it ought to be that way. Okay. So the more you can take care ahead of time, the better. Especially you're going to save some money. I can guarantee you that.
Okay, thanks. The next question I have is about veterans. When a veteran is brought to you for burial, what assistance do you give the family as far as whatever benefits?
All right, now, the service don't change, but here's one thing about veterans. If you're a veteran, you can be buried in a veteran cemetery. They'll give you a grave plot. They'll give you the container, the vault or whatever container.
Wow.
Headstone, flag. They're going to give you that. But you got to go to Salisbury or to a veteran cemetery. That's all right. That's free. Man, if you've never been to a veteran cemetery, I think you ought to go and just stand up in there and just look at all them headstones and think about what all them people paid life for you to be able to stand there free.
Wow.
I tell veterans, I say, man, you need, if I ain't got nowhere to be buried, go to Salisbury. They're going to give you a grave. That's one thing as far as with a veteran. But other than that, it's just like everybody else.
Okay.
But that is one good benefit, because A container that they give you, we charge $1,400 for. The markers they give you run about $2,000. So any veteran ought to take advantage of that if they want it. And here's the thing too. I understand that a veteran can be buried in the cemetery and their spouse can too.
Yes.
Now that's great too.
Yes.
Wow. See what education does?
Exactly.
Yes.
And some folk, and I admire that. Man, they love cause what they serve their country. They love it. And I think they are too. So, and I think it's good what they doing as far as on this part with the veterans. I really do. Now, some of the other things I don't think they're doing right. But as far as offering this, because as you say, you can be saving $3,000-4,000 right there. $3,000-4,000 make a difference.
Yes, it
Any
does.
day of the week.
Yes.
Any day of the week.
Thank you.
So, yes, ma'am. Oh yeah, and you get a flag with that too.
Wow.
Hi, my question is the difference between your service and your service. Do we need them both?
I'm
Are
an
they the same?
agent. I'm an agent, so I cover your insurance needs. I also cover pre-planning needs that are included with my policies. He is a funeral service provider. I cannot do what he did or he does.
I understand.
And
that.
You got that.
And I can't sell you what she can sell you.
Right. We're both licensed
And
in different areas.
I understand that, but
Mhm.
he's talking about you can pay in advance for your coffin or
Yeah.
your services or so forth like that on a plan.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying that you have insurances
Mhm.
so that you can have money to pay for those
Yes.
services.
Right.
Yes.
So I offer insurance policies, which and with my policies, it's a plan that is included free of charge as your pre-planning. He offers your pre-planning with a company. He's working in conjunction with someone like me that provides the same services that he's not licensed. Does that make it clear?
Yeah. 'Cause
You have to be licensed to provide the
state.
policy
Now,
or the service.
mine is not life insurance.
Okay.
By being a funeral director, I can sell a pre-need insurance that just pays us,
Okay.
just for burial.
Okay.
This ain't something that you pay on, then when something happens, you can get the money. No, all the money coming to the funeral home.
Okay.
Okay? This is to pay for those items that you done picked out ahead of time.
That's a good
basically the
explanation.
difference.
Right.
With them, all you saying is, I don't want to deal with that now. I want the money to be there
Right.
to be able to pay for what I need.
Yeah.
Maybe able.
Yeah.
Makes
Like
sense?
I had a family that has a 2-year-old with a very bad heart condition. We couldn't insure that baby. So I suggested that they go to the funeral home and get a pre-need program. Start, paying on something for this baby because they didn't think he was going to make it anyways.
Wow.
So insurance wasn't going to help them, and they weren't going to provide coverage.
Right. And that's another thing. Many people don't think or think that they can qualify for insurance, and many people don't qualify depending on what companies you are. And that's why it's great for us to have the
other resources.
guaranteed issue policies, and then
Yes.
we offer a graded policy where we even cover in the state of North Carolina, you can get coverage if you have HIV. So there, even if you have chronic medical conditions, you still are able to get insurance. Your rate may be a little bit higher, but you still will qualify for insurance. And then you have other alternatives where my motto is there's no excuse.
Yeah.
Right.
We all need this. You just have to choose your option. So if you have medical conditions and you're not able, and the premium may be too much for your policy, then you may need to go with the pre-need service. But we're all here for you.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I had a couple questions. I'm sorry. Ms. Colbert,
Yes.
you said a guaranteed policy is 5% if,
Before the 2 years?
before the 2 years, but what is that 5% of? Is that 5% of the premium you paid or 5% of the face value of the?
5% of what you paid into it, the premium. Additional five. Well, it's
It's
what
on
you
the
paid
interest.
into it
I understand,
plus
right?
Right, it's
That's
building
5%.
interest.
5%. Yeah,
Right.
not 5% of the. Yeah.
So that, in essence, that's really not much.
No, it's yeah. Well, with the less than 2 years, but you
Well,
know,
that's the only way it's gonna pay, the 5%, correct?
if it's less than 2 years,
Yes, that's the only way it's gonna pay the 5% if it's less than 2 years. Over 2 years, you're gonna pay the full.
Right.
Right.
And then if it's an accidental death, what I like about it too, if it's an accidental death, like you fall off a
Right.
ladder, a
Yeah.
car accident, is going to pay the entire face amount in that case too.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, no, let me tell you about that 2-year thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes a difference. When they issue you a policy, like say, 2 years is gonna be enforced. You say, well, what happens? Some people don't know about their policy. We may sit there and talk, and I find out the person dead, they got a policy, but it's within the 2 years. Now, all that means is they're gonna take the cause of death, they're gonna go back, they're gonna compare that to them health questions that they ask you to see if maybe you was telling a lie just to get insurance. Then at that point, then they gonna decide, do they pay the claim or do they not pay it? Now, I got a situation like that now. I'm in the 8th month waiting. The insurance company is waiting. They had to do an autopsy. Then they got to do all it. Cause see, the insurance trying to keep their money. Now, it has worked. It has worked. So they'll come to find out, yeah, everything is good. But they're going to protect themselves. That don't mean they won't pay.
Right.
It's just going to take a little longer. You got to wait on your money.
Well, with this
and everything.
particular plan that I talked about, there's no health questions.
Right.
There's
No health
medical
questions, no
exam.
medical exam.
Yeah.
No health questions, no medical exam.
Okay.
So, and even for this, so a lot of insurances ask about your criminal record. That can decline. They don't ask any of that. So I don't have to say any more about that.
Right. I want to mention also that EB brought up a very, very valid point that most insurance companies do not pay immediately. There's a waiting period, so that $3,000 to $15,000 that I talked about earlier that you need to bury someone, that money needs to be available immediately in order for those services to go forth. We actually are able to offer those premiums available within 24 hours with the needed paperwork. So that is another option that you have available. There's many companies and services that are still fighting to get their money even years afterwards.
Let me tell you, here's the process. If you're the beneficiary and you want to pay us, I got to get you to sign a document authorizing the insurance company
To release
to
the
pay
funds.
us. All right. Now, folks say, what's a good insurance company? Them ones that pay when something happens. That's the only way you judge
The
them.
ones that pay.
Insurance agents used to come to your house.
Yep.
Now, it used to be when I first got in, we might have to
Oh,
work
I still
30,
come.
60 days because you had to mail stuff in.
Yeah.
Now they will allow you to fax stuff in. Now, let me speak on, I haven't dealt with State Farm. Let me speak on Lincoln Heritage. Let me tell you what they'll do.
Come on now.
I'll call in the claim and I'll say beneficiary, and they'll tell me, they say, is the beneficiary sitting there? I say, yeah.
Yeah.
They
We're
say,
her
they
agent.
get on there, get the information. Less than 7 days, they got a check. Not us.
I'm sure we do the same
Yeah.
Not
thing.
us. I mean, but that's what I'm saying. That's the part of judging.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
are
We
we-
can
Who's gonna
say-
pay?
you can
That's
say
good. That's
whatever
a
you
good
want.
criteria to look
You can
at.
say whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's at that time that you need that
Yeah,
money.
yeah,
Is when
Yeah,
you need
exactly.
to be, when they service need to be.
yeah. That's good.
And that's why we're number one.
Now, here's the main thing too. If you got insurance,
But I love Miss Nora.
no.
Well,
we fight the same battle. We fight the same battle. We are in this together.
And that's
Yeah,
the
we
whole
are.
time.
We are. But I'm sure do the same thing.
Well, we do.
Because we are financially able to do that.
And the thing is you able to pay,
Right.
all right? Whether it
Mhm.
be insurance, checking account, credit card,
Black
cash,
card.
it's all, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. And
Yeah,
as you see
yeah.
now, folks, a lot of folks GoFundMe.
Mama.
Yeah, fish fries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm all for no more project, no more GoFundMe.
Well, let me tell you something, folks. You know,
Yeah,
I'm kind of
yeah.
crazy. I'm
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in dealing with families and they ain't got no money and all that, what do? I say, well, you go back home. When them folk call you, how
You
you
call
doing?
me.
I ain't doing too good. What's wrong? I just come from the funeral home, man. Just gonna call, say, you want to donate? All right, because they're
Go
gonna
up
come
to-
to your
yeah.
house, get you a chicken.
Yeah.
All right, all of that.
Whew.
I'm even for this. I'm even for on them services where something happens. Put a bucket at the door. Drop a dollar.
Come on
to
now.
help the family pay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can say it's crazy what we doing with money.
Yeah. Yeah.
On
But
the
you know,
funeral.
events like this are good.
Yes.
We're educating people. Now people are learning what they need to do.
They don't
We're going to
know.
do more. We're committed to do
Right.
more.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Amen. Amen.
Let me
Yes.
ask you this. real
Yes,
quick,
ma'am.
and
Sorry.
Oh, I'm
We
sorry.
got to
It's
watch
okay.
the clock. We got to be
Yes.
Oh, I ain't
obedient.
even looking up there.
Lincoln Heritage.
I'm sorry, honey. Say that again.
Lincoln Heritage
Yes,
is
ma'am.
not. This insurance is not only for final expenses.
No, ma'am.
Okay, so it doesn't have a tagline to it.
No.
You can use it for whatever.
Yes, ma'am. We offer services up to $35,000. No medical exam, no. Well, we have a few health questions, and that's how your rate is determined, whether you have a final expense or a graded policy. But most of my clients get first day coverage. I have MS clients. I have clients with diabetes, high blood pressure, all of that, and they get first day coverage. If you have an extended medical condition, maybe a heart monitor, or you're suffering from cancer or things of that nature, you still qualify for coverage, but you're going to have that waiting period that we spoke of earlier. And in my case, you may have a 2-year waiting period. And after that waiting period and 1 day, after 2 years is 20, all the premiums that you've paid in plus 20%. And if you're under 45, it's a 3-year waiting period, and it's all the premiums you paid in plus 30%.
And one last question.
Yes.
Does any of you all know anything? Does North Carolina still do sort of an escrow for people that don't even want to use any of these services? They just want to send their money to the state. They no longer
I
do
don't
that.
think so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Now,
Yeah.
Now, Gaston County used to have a fund that if you didn't have no money, they would give funeral home $500. You know, but there was a certain amount in that budget, and you couldn't add nothing to it. But as I say, people, this ought not be nobody else's decision.
Right.
This is a personal.
Great
personal
questions, by the way.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Great questions.
Great question.
Oh, she back.
Sorry, there was a follow-up question to my pre-needs question. And the follow-up question is on the pre-needs, I guess the arrangements that we would make. If the prices go up in 5 years, will they need to owe more money?
No. And that's the good thing about it. All right, because we don't know when it's going to be. Oh, we don't know when it's going to be. Thank you, Pastor. We don't know when it's going to be. So we don't know what things going to cost then.
Right.
So you can say, I got X amount of dollars, and that may work today, but 5 years from now, they may not get it. And if you live to be a ripe old age and you still got to die, say it's best to be prepared. Now, this is preparation.
Right.
It's preparation. Because if you got $10,000 to be buried with, and you can't get buried for $10,000, something wrong with you.
Right.
No, for real. For real. But the best thing I can say is to plan and think about it. It ain't a one-day decision. You leave here, you go home, you think about what happened, and something happened. You look at your situation.
That's right.
Evaluate it. Lay it out, and then work on it. And then work on it. That's it. Like I say, you can call these ladies, you can call me, any kind of information to help you be better prepared.
Yeah, and have a conversation with your family. I really think that's
Yeah.
important for the whole family to be involved. You know, some people don't even know that they're the beneficiary
Right.
of someone.
A lot of, especially older folk. Older folk didn't like to talk about death. Oh, don't
Yeah,
worry
yeah,
about it, baby.
yeah.
I got insurance.
Yeah.
And that's all you go on.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that wasn't right.
I've talked to some family where it'd be a crowd of folk. I think the lady was 95 years old. Picked out a film, and they had, I think, $5,000 or something. I think the bill was like $8. And but then here it is. They talking about how much they love their grandmama, and then they couldn't even come together to get that.
Yeah.
So the best thing I could say, the more investigation you do,
Yeah.
the more knowledgeable you will be, you can make better decisions. And it's a personal decision. But like I said, there's a lot of folk walking around here, they don't care. If I die today, I don't care. I ain't got to worry about it. Well, that is true. But somebody got to worry about it.
I've had someone to quote that they can just throw me in the ditch.
Yeah.
Well,
I've had
that's
similar.
illegal.
Yeah.
So that's not that's literally can't be done.
Yeah.
But I know that we have had a few people to leave today, but unfortunately, but I had a free gift for everyone since we're talking about planning. We have a question that's coming forth. While she's coming, I wanted to, if I can get some assistance, the planning that we talked about. I want to give you the free booklet, My Final Wishes, as well, to assist you with the planning that we've all talked about here today. And that way you can put your wishes down in writing. You can make those wishes known to your family members, and they'll have that needed information when that time comes. And I also have a booklet about the 9 things that you need to know about funerals. Okay. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
I was listening. I was listening to the question about an item 3 years ago cost this, but now the item costs more. This is from experience. I know y'all have buried almost everybody in my family, so I know that with my father, what was picked out before cost more when he died.
Okay.
We didn't have a policy.
Okay.
I went down in the price because I had to, as far as money was concerned. So is that, do I have that correct? If it's with a policy, the price will stay the same. But if you're paying cash money out of your pocket.
Well, the price may not be the same, but like I say,
Mike.
oh, thank you, Pat. I get that. I ain't used to no Mike. The thing is, as far as the price won't go down, you're gonna probably have to pay more.
Yeah, we did.
All right. But let me say this, folks. A casket is a casket. Is a casket. Is a casket. If you look at them, they're all the same, basic, same size, different colors. They may have all kind of fancy stuff on it, and that's what they selling you. Now, I don't believe in putting a lot of money in the ground. Folk got to keep living, okay? And I don't think Jesus gonna stand there and wait on you because what casket you got to get you into heaven. It ain't even about. I ain't heard Pastor preach on that yet, you know. But you got to be right with God yourself. That's the only thing. And I'm telling you another thing I wrestle with. At first, I wanted to have a big film laid up and everything. But man, you know how folk won't speak to you, won't see you, and then you die. They walk by your casket. And, no, I mean, for real.
You're preaching.
And sometimes I wonder, I say now, when I die, if they have a big funeral, will I be up in the corner with Jesus looking, saying, EB, you had a nice funeral? I don't think it's none of that. It's all about somebody else, because we got to be right when we die. But them people sitting out there got to deal with our death. And that's hard sometimes. To lose somebody quickly or anything like that. So some choices, I have had families look at a casket and say, EB, I like that casket right there. And it might be $3,000. I say, I know that. All right, let me show you something else that's a little less expensive. They say, well, that look just like that. That's my point. That's my point. Do it ahead of time, because when somebody dies, we set up an appointment. You come in, and I done had some ladies tell me this, EB, we got to get this thing over. I got to get to the hairdresser. And we just go through things just like that. It can be that easy, or I've sit in there sometime for 2 hours because a young lady can't get up to go over to the room and pick out a casket for her mama. How hard that is. So the more decisions you can make for yourself.
I got a couple more things.
Okay.
And
I
I have
noticed
5 minutes.
I'm sorry.
We're going to get in trouble.
Okay.
Okay.
I noticed that you didn't mention when it comes to the caskets also, that it costs more when a person is more heavier or they're taller.
All right. That's a
Am I
good point.
correct?
No, you
Great
good.
question.
A basic casket is 26 inches wide and about 80 inches long. Now, if you happen to be broad-shouldered. Okay, thank you, Pastor.
You want me to hold it for
No,
you?
I'm good. If you happen to be broad-shouldered or bigger body, let me say it that way, you're going to require a bigger casket.
Costs more.
Costs a whole lot more. First of all, it costs more. The selection ain't as wide. I mean, as far as what you get to choose from. But I get back to this. A casket is a casket. It's a casket. So that, all right, now, with that, if you, a 26 to 28-inch casket are getting a standard vault. If you get 30-inch casket and you got to get a wider vault, that's more money. Wow. Sometimes you got to buy 2 graves because the graves got to be bigger.
Wow.
Education.
Now, when you mention vault, I'm just from experience. Okay, you got the casket, you got the vault, and is that a North Carolina law with the vault?
No, the rule is most cemeteries say you got to put the casket in some type of container. All right. When I first started, we were using wood boxes. Then they went from wood to concrete. Well, we still at concrete. Now they got polyurethane or rubber. You can get it. Now, when you get to vault, when I hear vault, what I hear? Money. Protection. You know, that kind of thing. Vault, to protect your money. All right, so you trying to protect the body. All right, so I'm thinking, for what? Vault companies say we got a 50-year warranty on our vault. I ain't never went back dig nobody up to see if the warranty worked. No, some people, I got me a warranty. I mean, but these are all the kind of things that need to be taken ahead of time and instead of being at the time where you got to make a decision. Okay.
Lastly,
yes,
I promise, lastly. I believe in information and learning.
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
important to me. And when you mention that at the funeral home at Costner, that you can prepay, that's awesome. Most people don't know that. They don't know that. And when you mention with diseases that people are being denied, that's a layaway plan.
Yes.
Because that's what that is. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
All right, y'all don't go too far. Come on and give them a hand for a job well done. I want to thank y'all so much. Megan, I want to thank you because of the simple fact that while I was doing what I was doing at the hospital here, there, and the other place, I was able to go ahead. And I want y'all to hold on for a little bit before y'all go. I was able to go ahead and put my earpiece in and listen and go and do. So come on and give it up for Marquise and Megan Douglas. Thank God for that. Thank you for all of those of you that are watching online. And we're going to make sure that you can get all of their information so that you can call them or you can email them and get all the services that they provide. And we want to thank God for Minister Dawn Johnson for coordinating all of this with her crew. Come on and make her feel good. And each and every one of you for coming out. We thank you. For all of our presenters, once again, thank you so much for all that you did to make sure this was a great day. A couple of things while I was coming on the road, and when I say I'll be brief, I mean it. I'll be brief. I just got a little bullet point list I want to go over. Heard about term life insurance and heard about the difference between that and whole life. Somebody told me a way of thinking of that years ago that made a lot of sense. Term life, you rent an insurance, and when the rent's over, it's over. It's just all, that's just all it is to it. And if you want to renew your rental agreement, it'll probably be way up, because when I was young, I was able to get a policy. I had no diabetes, no high blood pressure, no cholesterol, and my policy was $15 a month. And I had whole life. And it was $9 going to basically to savings, and the other $6 was going to service the policy. And it paid for itself after I lapsed on it for a while, because it had about 2 or 3 years worth of money to pay it on itself. So whole life is a way to look at it if you want a savings component to it. Think of whole life as mortgage. At the end, you got the house and you got the equity in the house. But with term, you got rent. And when you out, you out. So I definitely wanted to go ahead and put that part in there. Be careful about accidental death insurance, because it has to be an accident. There's no accident. It's too many people that have gone to the funeral home, put out their accidental death policy up there on the table, and what happened? Or they died at the hospital of natural causes. Well, you can throw that in trash, because it was just like rent. It's worth nothing. So you want to keep in mind about that kind of thing. Pre-needs, I'm glad y'all explained it. When my mother got sick, she had a stroke. She had 76,000. I was the power of attorney. I was able to take 10,000, lay it down there, give it to Brother Cosner. And when she finally passed, that was 2008 when I did that. And 2012, when she passed, it had gained $800. I had $10,800 to work with. Okay, get this. The funeral cost $13,878. Why? Because I had to give pastor something. My pastor came and preached. At the time, we had a minister of music that I gave him something. Then I used the fellowship hall. She wasn't a member here. I just said something. She wasn't a member here. She my mama, but she wasn't a member. So I gave gave them something. Listen, chicken now costs $2 a piece. $2 a piece for a piece of chicken. So if you want chicken and you want some green beans and some mashed potatoes, and you want a little piece of bread and some Kool-Aid, sweet tea if you're better, and some water. I mean, churches can't absorb that. So you're talking about a price list of anywhere between $1,000 to $1,500, maybe $2,000, and we go in increments of 50 people. So that's what you're dealing with. You can take the rest of it home with you. You need to think in those terms. If you're not a member, it's a benefit of being a member of a church. But you don't want to just join for a funeral. You want to join because your soul need to be saved. Hello, somebody. So these are things that you need to consider. So, and then the opening and closing of the grave. If you go up here to Gaston Memorial, you got to get there before 2 o'clock, because if you don't, it costs something else. On Saturday, it's double time. On Sunday, it could be, it could be time and a half. And on Sunday, it could be double time. And then if you have to 2 on that, it's going to be another price. So the opening and closing of the grave plus the grave. So I had 10 grand saved up, and get this, the grave was already paid for. I had to pay for that opening and closing. And that can be anywhere from $1,000 to a couple $1,000 just opening and closing a grave. So you got to consider all these things. So yes, you went down there and got a pre-needs, which is good. I will tell you this, it's best to get an irrevocable insurance policy. That way, if a person gets sick and Medicaid has to kick in, they can't go back and try to do anything with that insurance. The funeral home had the 10,000. They're going to spend all of that on there. Amen. And that's what's got to be done at the funeral home. With the insurance, once again, you got to make sure you have a beneficiary. Get out of your mind this stuff about the oldest child ought to be able to take care of it. It needs to be the responsible child or somebody else that can take care of it. Because somebody talking about they trying to get out and get their hair done and you taking too long at the funeral is not the responsible one. I ain't picking at nobody. I'm just saying what I'm saying. So you've got to go ahead and make sure that you have these things taken care of. I recommend a pre-needs for, especially for those that are retired. If you got your money and you're getting ready to retire, take 10, 15, good nowadays at least 15 to 20,000 over to the funeral home to have all that taken care of. That's what I highly recommend in consultation with your funeral director of your choice, right? All right. I made mention about get your insurance early and because it's less expensive. I heard about this earlier in here today about if you got insurance with your company that you work with. When you got it in your 20s or in your 30s and your health was all good and everything, and then when you get ready to retire, that insurance may or may not carry over with you. So now you're going to get a policy, I heard, at 50 or 60, it's going to be way more. So it's good to have another insurance company outside of your company that you work for. All right. Couple other things, like I said, you want to make sure about that beneficiary as far, and another note that we learned from another workshop is this: your beneficiary, but you also, who's got your password to your computer? To your computer, who's got your password to your email, who got your password to your bank account. When you're doing your online bills, who can go in there and pay bills if you can't? So if somebody needs to have your passwords somewhere that you can trust with your passwords to take care of your bank account, that can take care of all these different things, can go to the bank. Do you have, what is it called, it's not before the beneficiary. Are you a joint on the account? So you can go in and do what you need to do just like the other person. You need to consider all those things, and you need to talk to somebody that can help you, guide you through the legalities of those things as well. The other thing, let me say this, and if the funeral home goes belly up and you have a pre-needs policy, then I heard you made mention something earlier about escrow, I think you were saying. But one of the things that you want to make, if the funeral home goes belly up, the money goes to the state, and the state can put it to some other funeral home of your choice. Am I correct on that? Okay, so Brother Cosner made sure I'm correct on that. I wanted to make sure. Closing up, and then I saw a hand up in just a moment. Keep in mind, just because you got your pre-needs, you need to make sure if it doesn't include, then you're going to have to cover this, the graves, the opening, closing. Like I said, dinner, keep in mind, chicken, $2. Somebody got to pay for that if you want to do it. All those flowers, this foolishness of everybody got to, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say foolishness. If they want to get a shirt, let them get a shirt and they buy it. You don't need to be trying to pay for shirts and tennis shoes and y'all looking all good and it's your last time in church to the next funeral. Hello, somebody. I can't help it and clean it up no other kind of way. Once again, you may give the minister of music something. It's amazing how you want people to come and do all this service, but you don't want, well, anyway, whoever's speaking, you may have a psalmist to come, and then fellowship hall, and then church costs. You know, listen, it cost us almost $1 million to refurbish this place. And for you to want to come in one time and say that, well, the church ought to be doing something. See, that's why I don't come to church. Well, then go wherever you're going and have the funeral wherever you're having it. we try to make sure that we take care of you, but we can't do but so much. We can pay a light bill, we can pay for somebody to vacuum and do all of that after the service. But when you want to go a little bit above that, we need to go ahead and talk about it. Somebody's got to park cars, somebody's got to direct traffic, somebody's got to work the sound, somebody's got to do a lot of different things that need to go on. And just like, and when you look at that, you need to look at all of these different costs. You heard about the casket. Please make sure that whatever casket you're getting, think about it, you're only going to look at it for 72 hours. That day, the next day, and maybe one other day, and that's about it. 48 hours, 72 tops. So don't put a whole lot into that. When it comes down to a vault, they are required here, and the reason they're required here because of sinkage. As the grave begins to settle, it's hard to keep lawnmowers and stuff not being towed up. All right? I heard a comment or a question, then we're going to have a word of prayer, then we're going to ask that those that presented today will take a seat in the back pew, and anybody wants to go over there, you feel free to go over there, and then we're going to go ahead and go into our church meeting. If nobody comes over there, you can go ahead and be dismissed. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to mention real quick also, it's a great tip to also choose a contingent to your beneficiary just in case something happens to your beneficiary before you and then you don't change it. That leaves your insurance policy with no one to be in charge of it. So your beneficiary is the first person, the contingent is the second person in case something happens to the beneficiary.
Exactly right. We want to make sure that that is covered. My wife, if I go, if she go, I'm taking care of everything. If both of us go, then in our case, Destiny will take care of everything, and Charity and Trinity on down the line. All right. Yes, ma'am. Come on up. Next workshop, August the 5th, 10 o'clock, Social Security. That's what we'll be dealing with. I want to thank y'all once again. Please give them a hand right before we pray. Wonderful. Did you have something as well? Thank you so, so much for all that y'all do. Yes, ma'am.
Humana, so we're really excited about that.
Medicare
Advantage for
Advantage.
65 and older, or if you've been disabled for at least 24 months.
All right, make sure you get with Minister Johnson so she can see about how you can get fitted back into the program. All these informational pieces are very important, and I highly recommend that you take advantage of that. Now that, as Maya Angelou said, now that you know better, do better. Let us pray. Father, we thank you for allowing us to come together today. We pray now, Lord, that you would, be with us and help us along the way in all of our decisions. We pray that the insurance piece will be used and that pre-needs will be used. And we're thankful for knowing the difference between the two. And we thank you, Lord, for helping us. Bless all of these, really, for sometime known as second responders after the first responders, Lord, to be able to do what needs to be done. We thank you. We appreciate you. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Listen, I'm going to grab a hug right quick from our presenters. Y'all can go ahead over there, pass out what you want. We're getting ready to go in a church meeting in 2 minutes. And anybody that wants to talk to them, you'll be able to talk to them longer than 2 minutes.